Hello, everybody. My name is Yessi Perez, and I am a technology journalist and editor. Welcome to IntelliDigest Conversations, a series designed to explore insights into global food sustainability. IntelliDigest has come a long way since 2016 when Dr. Ifeyinwa Kanu, then a PhD researcher, decided to take up a challenge. That challenge was to halve and then end food waste, in line with the 2030 That challenge was to halve and then end food waste in line with the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. SDGs 12.3 was particularly on her mind, as well as SDG 2 and 13. IntelliDigest today is the result of her doctoral research in environmental engineering, her passion for food sustainability, and her total dedication to her mission. That mission is to empower global food sustainability. Now, while this may seem like an impossible task, Ife and her team are quietly chipping away at this objective. And let me tell you, the results so far have been impressive. Ife and IntelliDigest have gone on to win several awards, have been accepted on various accelerators, and are recognized as emerging leaders in the global food sustainability space. The IntelliDigest story has also attracted the attention of government agencies, international development institutions, UK banks, leading universities, and several international brands, including the UN Food and Agricultural Organization, UNFCCC, and other UN institutions and the Marriott hotels. Despite the current global crisis, the future remains bright. International financial and development institutions have made food sustainability and sustainability in general a matter of urgency. The United States is thankfully back on track on climate action, with COP26 in Glasgow in November this year, bringing the climate action agenda into sharp focus. Leading investment institutions have taken positive climate action-led steps on how and where they invest. The world seems on course to end poverty, hunger, and hopefully food loss and waste. IntelliDigest is a classic case study on cutting-edge research, university-industry collaboration and knowledge exchange, sustainable early-stage fundraising, and technology research commercialization. This is an ambitious company on a focused, single mission to deliver measurable, sustainable impacts in a sector common to all humanity, which is, of course, food. As the world marches towards 2030, and as the world population races towards 10 billion by 2050, the need for food security and sustainability cannot be overstated. This is driving an urgency for new, innovative technologies to address global food loss and waste, as well as food security and resilience for SDGs 2 and 12 to be achieved. In this video, we talked to Dr. Ifeyinwa Kanu about her journey from the PhD research lab to the world of biotechnology, environmental engineering, and the race to 2030. Dr. Ife Kanu, welcome to IntelliDigest Conversations.
Thank you so much, Yessi. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you, and I'm really excited to learn more about you, the business, and the mission that you're trying to achieve. And to kick things off, I really want to just look at the future. So if we think about 2030, but also work backwards, if that's okay with you, tell me what IntelliDigest will look like in 9 years' time.
In 9 years' time, which will be in 2030, IntelliDigest is currently aligning with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and enabling stakeholders in the food system from farm to fork to move towards achieving this target in the most efficient way. Our mission at IntelliDigest is to empower global food sustainability. This mission is actually driven by our vision of a world with a more resilient and sustainable food system. We need to feed over 9.5 billion people by 2050. And we know that currently over 800 million people are malnourished and over 144 million children are stunted. But in the midst of that, we know that we waste over 1.3 billion tons of food. We need to actually draw a line between wasting food and the ability to feed people in the future. And at IntelliDigest, we're going to be a global leader by 2030, evolving the infrastructure to deliver food sustainability through cutting-edge research, innovative technologies, and capacity building. And we're very much gearing to deliver that.
I love your ambition. I love your conviction. I love your mission. I think it's incredibly ambitious to try and first halve and then ultimately end food waste. So when you think about the business and the future, you know, in your opinion, where do you think will be the main junctions and milestones to get to 2030? And, you know, if we look about business trajectories in general, I would imagine that you perhaps would stop in a few years' time, say 2024, take stock, try and figure out where you are and where you want to get to, and review progress in order to kind of get to where you want to be. Tell me what that looks like.
Yeah, I think we've been on this journey since 2016, and it's been a very interesting journey for us. And we've learned a lot as we've progressed. And one of the things that's very clear is that to address the challenges in the food system, it has to be holistic. We need to approach it in a very holistic way by supporting stakeholders in the food system from farm to fork. So we have structured IntelliDigest into 4 distinct companies, including research, IntelliDigest Research, IntelliDigest Technologies, IntelliDigest Training, and IntelliDigest Consulting. And to enable us deliver this successfully, we have detailed financial forecasts covering the 4 business units to 2026. Now, the research, training, and consulting is something that we're definitely working on as a very innovative business. We'll continue to lead the way on these business units, research, training, and consulting. Moving on from now, and also we will then get a lot of our products, our technologies into markets with a target to have some of these cutting-edge technologies delivering value for stakeholders in the food system by September 2021. And that is very much aligned with the United Nations Awareness Day for Food Loss and Waste, which is coming up on September 29th. So we're already counting down to that date to be able to deliver our solution into the market. We're working very hard to do a product launch also in the coming year during the World Food Safety Day, which will take place in June next year. We also plan a big announcement on World Food and Loss Day. So it's really an exciting time for us at IntelliDigest, because we know that that is a huge challenge in the food system, which has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 issue. When we went to the shops and we couldn't get anything on the shelves. We know that we have issues with food security, we have issues with food resilience, and to address these issues, we need to tackle it holistically.
I really think that's really important, and also the way that you structured your business into 4 key areas. But I'd love to get more insight in terms of, you know, how you work, who you work with, and also thinking about how you've come to be with regards to like the research and, you know, cross-industry collaboration. What strategic partnerships or collaborations you have in place at the moment?
Thank you very much, Yessi, for pointing out that, because for us, we believe collaboration is fundamental to really driving change in the world. And that also is part of one of the UN SDG 17. So what we want to do is to work with different organizations, to collaborate with them, to make sure that we deliver solutions that have impact, measurable impact, to addressing most of the global issues we have today, especially with the food system. And we do that through research and commercialization, which require that we build strategic partnership just as much as delivering capacity development projects is needed. We work with several universities and research institutions and work on joint projects sponsored by the EU and other international bodies. We have recently pre-launched a flagship project, the Global Food Industry Sustainability Program. We will work with experts and government in Africa to deliver an integrated package of action, research, and capacity building initiatives. In the UK and in Scotland, we collaborate with experts from Cambridge, Reading University, Strathclyde University, and Glasgow universities, and of course, Hertford University, my alma mater. I'm particularly proud of my ongoing project with Royal Academy of Engineering and STFC Food Network. They've hugely supported what we're doing. I did receive a Royal Academy of Engineering Enterprise Fellowship. I'm a champion of STFC Food Network, and we've got a series of projects within the STFC Science Technology Facility Center, and that has been of huge support for us as we moved on. And we want to keep on building that collaboration. We want to keep on helping the food system to become more sustainable. For us, enabling, creating the enabling infrastructure to drive this change in the food system is fundamental, and that's what we're working on.
Well, first of all, congratulations for striking all those partnerships. I think for a business that's only been going for about 5 years, I think that's really impressive. And I imagine it's also a really good and sustainable way for you to build a company with regards to actually working with people in the industry and getting the data and the expertise and also the connections that you require. You've already said a lot, and there's a lot for me to unpack, but I just want to go back in time a little bit and talk about the 4 different business divisions that you mentioned. So you talked about IntelliDigest research, technologies, training, and consulting. And you also said that you had an exciting announcement coming up later this year from the technology side of the business. So please, can you tell us a little bit more about that as well?
So in terms of our technology, we currently developing a solution we call a nature-inspired robot, IntelliDigest. So it takes food waste and then breaks it down and creates sustainable chemicals that can then be used back into the food system. That for us is absolutely exciting, having such a unique circular economy and resource efficiency delivered to the food sector, in the sense that wherever food is eaten that generate food waste, you can more efficiently and more conveniently convert that food waste into a material that can be put back into the food system. And we're really looking forward to businesses, households being able to use this solution in the near future. That is one of the key products we introduced into the market that really deals with this inedible food waste. But we also know that as we're dealing with inedible food waste, we have edible food waste, which actually shouldn't be happening in the first place. So we shouldn't be wasting food that is fit for human consumption. And how do we address those problems too? We really are working very hard to deliver those solutions too, to enable stakeholders from farm to fork in the food system address that problem. But for us, we're very excited about this initial product handling inedible food waste. We hold patents in a number of innovations, and we aim to use these tools to accelerate the growing global circular economy. We have had a strong expression of interest from leading brands, including NHS and Marriott Hotel. We're also working with London Waste and Recycling Board to be able to roll out our solution in London boroughs, as well as working with other big corporate organizations that are in the food system, which we're looking to announce in the near future.
That's so exciting. And I think, what's really interesting is obviously food waste and sustainability have been very important, and they should be for a very long time, right? But I also feel that COVID-19, which is something that you said earlier, has kind of supercharged the way that the industry, all industries are thinking about these very important topics. And I think also your business is a clear example of how technology can be used for good, right? We hear so much about technology, taking jobs or essentially, taking away transparency and accountability from people. But I think you're operating on the completely different other end of the spectrum, which I think is so exciting. As a new business, I should say as a relatively new business, I know you're new, you're 5 years old. You're also in a great spot in order to kind of attract new and exciting talent from the UK and overseas when it comes to young scientists. But the first thing I want to ask you about is, tell me about your management team, and how, also thinking beyond that, how you also create opportunities for young scientific talent, which I think it's never been so important.
Thank you, Yessi. I think green jobs is really critical at the moment for us to drive the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and be able to hit the targets set there. And I will be speaking on the BEIS Green Job panel next week on the 10th of March. So you're welcome to attend the event. But what we're doing at IntelliDigest is creating green jobs, creating opportunity for skilled level and unskilled level to effectively be deployed in delivering a more resource efficient society. IntelliDigest is led by Patricia Barclay, a seasoned intellectual property lawyer. She's our chairperson. She's been doing an excellent work delivering, making sure that we deliver what we plan to do. Myself, I am the Chief Executive Officer of IntelliDigest. I'm the founder of IntelliDigest, following my PhD in environmental engineering. And Justin is with us as the Chief Marketing and Sales Officer for IntelliDigest. And Stuart Kelly is the Chief Technology Officer who is working with us. We've got a team that got very complementary skills, and we're putting that to bear to ensure that we drive this change. And we've got a common mission, which is empower global food sustainability. We plan to make 2 or 3 additional appointments to the board soon. These appointments will be independent, non-executive directors. We are very lucky to have 2 strong advisory panels, a stakeholder panel, and the research expert advisory panel. And our advisors are drawn from both academia and industry. So I cannot emphasize enough what value we get from working with these experts who have continuously supported us because they believe in what we're doing, and they believe on in the impact of the solutions that come out of IntelliDigest, how much it will help the society going forward. And also the fact that most of the academic researchers are working at the cutting edge of technology and working with us to ensure that we deliver these game-changing solutions to make the food system more sustainable. Is something that's really very, very much appreciated by the executive team of IntelliDigest.
There's several things I'm going to take. Oh, sorry.
I must add that we are very lucky to have a team of interns also working with us. And that's because we widely engage with the universities, because we know that these are the places we get the best and the best of talents to work with. We've got interns working with us from Harold University, from Imperial College, from University of Edinburgh, from Robert Gordon University. So all over the country, we've built relationships with different organizations to make sure that we could get the best of talents to deliver these game-changing solutions.
There's several things I'm going to take away from that. And I think, making the most out of the talent, you are surrounded by industry-leading talent all over the UK, like you said. Secondly, you are a sustainable business trying to make the world more sustainable. I think that's also key. I think a lot of businesses don't always hold themselves accountable to that. But thirdly, what I think is also really interesting is actually striking the balance between research and academia, which is something you touched on, and what happens when it comes to commercializing the research, and that's obviously going to have such a huge impact when it comes to scaling your company. And I'm sure that's something that you've already experiencing as we're talking today. But during my introduction, I talked about how you've attracted a lot of attention from several different agencies, some as well known as the UN, Marriott Hotels and banks, etc. That's obviously fantastic, but as a business in 2021, what do you do to harness all that attention and build it into your plans that you have in terms of growth and scale as we head to 2030?
Thank you very much, Yessi. I think, building on what you said, we've really, really had a good fortune of having very positive reviews from a variety of institutions and having won, various awards and recognition. And that's simply because there is a huge demand for what we're doing. We need to make the food system work for everybody. We can't have over 1.3 billion tons of food wasted and over 800 million people being malnourished, which has been worsened by the COVID-19 issue. So for us, we know that there's a lot to do, and we put in all our strength, all our energy to deliver this change and make it work to empower global food sustainability. We are very grateful to be in this position, and we continuously refine our brand, systems, and processes to ensure we meet and exceed the standard expected of us. One way we do this is by collaborating with strong technology, academic, and development institutions to deliver our mission. Now, if you look at the technology we have today, it cuts across different disciplines. So we have enzymatic biocatalysis, which we evolving into building more enzyme engineering and improving the process. We use embedded sensors in our system to analyze the material that comes into our system to optimize the process. So that is really ensuring that system design and system processes are optimized. Then we also once we analyze the material that comes in, we dose the right amount of enzymes. So system optimization, system process efficiency, those are the things we build into what we do. And then to get this product to the end user, we also build in blockchain in our process, as well as improving our characterization to look at quantum computing and quantum capitalization in the future. So it simply means that we really need to have the right people and the right collaboration to enforce and strengthen how we do the research and how we deliver these solutions to market. So, for instance, our past and current research work with Imperial College, STFC Food Network, Glasgow University, Strathclyde University, Reading University, Hertford University, University of Edinburgh, and so many other organizations has really been helpful for us to achieve the key milestones to 230. And notwithstanding, the fact that the basics of what we're doing is built on from my PhD work. So having spent years in the lab, working on this and improving it, we need then to build the right collaboration to make it work and also globalize it. But perhaps more importantly, we have a clear timetable for engaging with global and UK institutions to support a number of UN international days. For instance, World Food Day, which is coming up on October 16th. We're looking forward to that because it's a day we can also demonstrate most of the solutions we have and the impact it's got on the food system. But also very close to my heart and to the heart of IntelliDigest is ensuring that we support women, we support local farmers to really excel and also to build in sustainability in what they're doing. And that's why we actually celebrated International Day of Women and Girls on the 11th of February. And coming forward, we're celebrating International Women's Day with a webinar focusing on food industry sustainability. I hope, Yessi, you're going to attend the event because there's a lot of speakers, interesting speakers who are going to be speaking to us on that day, telling us what the organizations are doing. So we have representatives from FSA, we have Food Standard Agency, we have representatives from Digital Catapult, the Innovate UK Digital Catapult Food and Drink. We also have representative from STFC Food Network, and also she also is a representative of N8 Agri-Food Group. So there are exciting topics that will come up on the day, and we intentionally set the event on the International Women's Day to make it relevant for women to understand that they can actually take part in this. They've got a role to play, and they've got enabling infrastructure to do that. All they need to do is to get that information and get that awareness and get that connection to deliver it. And we're really hoping that most women will engage with us on that day and benefit from what we're offering them. So looking forward to International Women's Day on the 8th of March, and I hope you'll join us, Yessi. But also, in addition to that, we are also very interested in how less developed countries accelerate their industrial sustainability. And Africa Industrialization Day in November will be a particularly important time for us. How do we also help developing countries to understand their part of this? The part of it, they need to make it work. And this is why everyone needs to be involved in it. We are, of course, working very hard to making impact at COP26 in Glasgow in November, as this will be an opportunity to demonstrate capabilities and contribution in food sustainability and climate action.
I don't know if you can tell, but I'm literally sitting here containing my excitement for several different reasons. One of which is everything you've said about empowering women. I think that is so important. So it's not just about building a sustainable business and reducing food waste, but it's actually looking at grassroots local communities and trying to improve people's lives, right? I think if anything, the pandemic has taught us that businesses are nothing without people, and it's all about innovation comes from people. And I think that we all have a responsibility to use technology for good. The other thing that you said was around blockchain technology. So I actually started off my career covering blockchain in 2000 and, well, a few years ago, I can't remember exactly, but ultimately, I think the really interesting thing about that tech specifically is that there's a lot of hype, right? I feel like for years we've been hearing about how it has the potential to do X, Y, or Z, but actually there are very few companies in existence today that are actually utilizing the technology in the wild. And one of the best use cases, of course, we know it's about provenance and sustainability. So I'd love to hear more about how you're using the technology yourselves.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jess, for drilling down on that. So in terms of the blockchain, we're looking at trustability, like you said, provenance and accountability. So how do we prove to end users of the sustainable chemical that we are actually generating the sustainable chemical from food waste? So the ability to prove that to them is really important, because the UK government has set a regulation that by April 2022, not all packaging must have at least 30% recycled content in them. And because of the target on responsible production and consumption, most businesses are moving towards more bio-based materials. So you need to prove to them where you're getting your bio-based material if they're going to use it, because they want to measure also their carbon footprint. So for us, the ability to demonstrate to them that, look, this is coming from food waste. This is coming from food waste in the farm, or food waste in the hotel, or food waste in the processing factory is really fundamental. And then once we demonstrate that to them, then they could have the confidence to say, this is the carbon footprint of what material I'm using. So for us also, it's about helping people understand where their food is coming from. So because the sustainable chemical we produce can be used back in the food system, and mostly it's going to be used in things like vertical farming, so growing nutrient-dense fruit and vegetable. People want to know where their food is coming from, and we can prove it to them. Look, it's coming from a sustainable material. Put back into the food system, produce your own food. And then what we want to do is drive change, like I mentioned before, on edible food waste. We don't want people to be wasting food. And one of the sources of edible food waste is wonky foods. So we want a situation whereby people understand better that their food is not just about the look and the feel and the taste. It's about the health and nutrition. So by the time you understand that, then there's a difference, because you're eating food because it gives you nutrient, and because you can tell where that nutrient is coming from, then it changes the way you look at food. So if you know that you need to take a certain amount of nutrient in a day, and I'm bringing a food to you and I'm saying this particular carrot has got this amount of vitamin which you need, and you don't need to look at the carrot anymore instead of the shape of the carrot. You're looking at the carrot because it got nutrient in it, and that's the future we want to see. Future whereby people see food as a way to living a healthy life, rather than just for the taste and for the cosmetics look. And I think that's going to address most of the health issues we have today, covering obesity, diabetes, hypertension, is really going to help people live a better life. So that ability to change people's mindset, behavioral change, is really important when you talk about food system, that your food helps your health. And you need to make sure you understand where your food is coming from, and that drives the way you approach the food. It's fundamental.
Honestly, this is like music to my ears, because I think in the healthcare industry specifically, for so long, we've been very reactive, right? It's about treating disease as opposed to preventing it. Yeah. And I think as a society, we're also, well, I don't want to speak to for everybody ultimately, but I think sometimes we just look at food as a source of energy, and that drives us to make really poor decisions. And I also think, in my immediate circle, I'm certainly noticing a trend when it comes to people thinking about, supporting local farms, whether it's outside of London and the UK or overseas. Like my family is Spanish. I come from a long line of Spanish farmers. We've always eaten what we've grown, and when it comes to poultry and etc., we knew what the chickens were being fed. We know that they're organic, free range, etc. Ultimately, in London, going to the supermarket, that's a lot more difficult, and a lot of considerations come into play, whether it's price versus quality, etc. But for you as a business, do you think things on the consumer side, are they starting to change increasingly so, or are we only just starting to see a rising interest in where the food's coming from and whether it's been produced sustainably?
Yeah, interesting one, Jessie. I think there's a lot of awareness going on. People are coming to understand that they need to know where their food is coming from. But whether we have the infrastructure that enables people that will enable people to really make the change towards, okay, now I know this is what I need to do. I think there's a gap there. So one is that you know something now. The next thing is, what do I need to do now that I know this? We've not really got that information in place and that infrastructure in place to help people make that change, because it's not yet there. And this is what IntelliDigest is doing. And for us, that is why we think this needs to be done more holistically. So rather than going to the farmer and talking to the farmer and dealing with the farmer alone, we need to deal with the farmer, we need to deal with the food processors, we need to deal with the food retailers, food manufacturers, and then the final consumer. And unless we do that in a very holistic and integrated way, then we'll be missing out something. And that's something we'll be missing out, will be causing another challenge for the society. So yes, the society is getting the awareness. Do they have the enabling infrastructure to make that positive mindset, positive mind shift? Not yet. And this is where IntelliDigest is delivering value.
Well, I think you definitely have your work cut out for you, but I think that you've done some amazing progress in a very short amount of time already. I think you're working in an incredibly important space. I think the zeitgeist is right. Like we just said, people are much more aware and they're starting to awaken to think about where, you know, how we're consuming, whether it's much more responsible. And it's not just about food, it's about our consumption in general, like fast fashion, etc. But also the COVID-19 pandemic, for me personally, you know, I think sometimes we're a little bit blind when it comes to how things end up on the stores. And I think that really kind of shed light on, you know, supply chains for in different countries and how different countries are dealing with different things when it comes to supplying food and you know, nutrition, etc. Obviously in the UK, we're seeing a lot more conversations around, like you said, obesity, diabetes, but also, you know, sometimes it's even as easy as like targeting children when it comes to making sure that the food that we provide in schools is something that's actually nourishing and not just looking at the cost effective side of things. As you can probably tell, I could probably spend hours speaking with you on this, and I'm by no means an expert, you are. But I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for giving us a rundown in terms of what you're doing and all the amazing plans that you have in the pipeline. I certainly look forward to hearing more about IntelliDigest, and I'm sure that we'll be hearing a lot more positive news coming out in the near future.
Thank you so much, Yessi. I'd love to speak more on this, but yeah, thank you for your time. Really appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Yeah.